Welcome back to the Banderpod, the inquisitive and incorrigible podcast of Bandersnatch Books. We're a small press publisher of treasures found off the beaten path for lovers of all that is good, true, and beautiful. I'm Rachel Donahue.
I'm Annie Beth Donahue.
And I'm Carolyn Claire Givens. And we are here to answer your questions. To help us do so, we've invited our friend Melissa Woodruff to interview us. We met Melissa at a homeschool convention several years ago. She came up to our booth, drawn in by the cover of Gobbleabet, and after surveying our books said, "So you guys basically publish weird things that are adorable?" And I pointed to our banner and I said, "We usually say treasures found off the beaten path, but yeah, that totally works."
And the rest is history. Melissa, welcome to the Banderpod.
Thanks, guys. I'm really excited to be here. And we just want to thank all of you who submitted your questions this time around, and we can't wait to dig in. So our first question, what is one word, first of all, that you guys would use to describe the overall vibe of the types of projects published by Bandersnatch?
Classic.
Ooh, I like classic.
Fun.
I like classic. I want something that hopeful. I'm going to go for hopeful.
Okay, another question. Would you ever consider publishing a middle grade adventure book with Christian vibes?
I'd be really curious to hear what the person who asked this question means by Christian. It's kind of a tricky word when it comes to literature. Do they mean that the author is Christian and writes from a Christian worldview? Do they mean that the story is written specifically for a Christian audience, like something you'd find at a Christian bookstore? Does it mean that the book is set in a Christian family or it has something to do with the life of the church? Do they mean that the story tries to drive home some kind of moral principle or Christian agenda? Or do they just mean a clean story that's well written with no objectionable content? So, we really care about the quality of books and dedication to excellent craft. And so for us, Christian is this entire embodiment of the worldview, and that applies to every corner of what we do. And that means we pursue excellence in our craft. But we realize in the market that word can carry different connotations for different people. And so I'd be really careful to define it before I answered more fully.
Yeah, yeah. And I'd say, as a general rule of thumb, if you have listened to our podcast at all, we are Christians. You know that that's a huge part of our lives, but we are not a, quote, Christian publisher. Mm-hmm. And that is actually a technical industry term. Christian publishing is a very particular kind of publishing that we don't fit in because we have books that are a broader spectrum, I think, than most Christian publishers would have. Or if a Christian publisher were to publish some of our books, they would have a separate imprint. They wouldn't put it in the same publishing house as another, book that falls more traditionally in that category of Christian publishing.
And actually, this is part of the reason we started our publishing company in the first place.
Yeah.
Because there were books that were not Christian enough for a Christian market, but they had a solid worldview that might not work in certain other traditional publishing contexts. And so what do you do with those books that fall between genres, that fall between these traditional camps? And we wanted to give them a home. And so we've done that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Man, you guys had a lot to say. I love it. You know who you are, All right, so the next question. Do you publish picture books?
Yes, but yes, we have picture books. We have picture books out in the world, and at some point we will probably ask for picture book submissions again. But picture books are really expensive and really hard to sell. So between those two things, we have to be cautious about our picture book volume. Mm-hmm. So, for example, this year, our picture book slot is taken by the poetry anthology because we are doing a 102 page. I don't remember how long this book is.
132 pages.
132 page picture book. It's a lot of pictures and a
Hmm.
lot of cost related to printing that. And so that's actually probably going to take us for a little while before we are ready to say, like, okay, we've got another slot available for a picture book in our
Hmm.
catalog. So, yes, picture books are not entirely off the table, but we will be very clear when we are looking for picture books in our submissions or anything like that.
Hmm.
Great. Okay, so what draws you most to a new manuscript? Voice, plot, genre, etc.?
Mm.
For me, it's voice.
Yeah.
If
Mm-hmm.
someone can nail a voice, then we can polish a story usually.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a lot of sense. I think for me, it needs to have a really good plot. Like it doesn't have to be a perfect plot, and Annie Beth is gonna, help you make it even better. But if it doesn't have something that like grips me in the story and moves me forward, I'm gonna get bored reading it pretty fast.
Hmm. I think my answer probably falls more along the lines of voice. Usually there is a line in the text that just jumps off the page at me and just screams like, "Oh my goodness, I love this." And sometimes it's the first line of the book, like Ashton Harper had three problems and two of them were his sisters. I mean, that's just amazing. Like it jumps off the page, and I'm thinking like Mari and the Margins was the same way. Like there were these little bits of poetry that just so embodied an image of something. And so, yeah, I think that's it for me. Just the words.
And I think there is a je ne sais quoi. There
Hmm.
is something that is really hard to nail down. That
Yeah.
if I read a manuscript that has that thing,
Hmm.
I am going to be passionate about getting this out in the world. And, in our discussion about what we're picking or whatever,
Hmm.
I'm going to fight for this one
Yep.
because of something. And for each time that has happened, it's been a different quality.
Hmm.
So it's not
Yeah.
any one thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you feel like you guys kind of unanimously fall into agreement about submissions? Like, I feel like I've seen you guys get really excited about the same stories. Like, Mari is one that I could not wait to get my hands on because all three of you could not stop talking about it. And so I feel like I've seen this unanimous excitement between the three of you. Do you feel like that's something that's pretty consistent?
Um, it has been on certain titles. And then this last round of submissions, we had so many good submissions and so few slots. We had to kind of battle it out. Like, we each had titles that we loved, and we had to lay it all out and say, okay, which of these titles fit together? Which is too much like something we've already published that wouldn't stand out, not just considering the manuscript itself, but in the context of everything else we've published. Where does it fit? And well, we've done one poetry this year, so we can't do another. Like we have to spread these things out a little bit. We weren't in as much agreement this past cycle, but I think it was just the nature of numbers of and so few.
And it's usually the ones in the middle.
Yeah.
Usually the standouts stand out, whether good or
Yeah.
bad. So
Yeah.
we
Right.
almost always agree this is fantastic or
Yes.
this is absolutely not for us.
Hmm.
But then when you get in the messy middle with things that are maybe based more on, well, I prefer to read this type of genre, that then
Right.
it's,
Yeah.
but it's not so much a disagreement as
Yeah. It's just
maybe
personal
preferences. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to say the same thing. I don't know that we've disagreed about a manuscript, but
True. Yeah.
but I don't know that we've ever or always been in full agreement. Often there's some discussion and
Yeah.
convincing. But I would say if one of us comes in absolutely certain in our gut that this is the right book for Bandersnatch,
Hmm.
we're going to convince the other two, and it's going to wind up on
Hmm.
the on
Hmm.
the on the list.
Yep. Yep.
You guys mentioned how many submissions, that you had a lot of submissions this last time. Has that increased substantially between each submission period?
Hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. This last round, I think in a 2-week period, we got almost 90 submissions.
Yeah.
That's a
And then
lot.
we had to take 4 months to get through them.
Yeah.
And
Because we highly value actually considering each one. And then also giving feedback to
Right.
the author of what we see. And if it's not
Mhm.
a fit, why it's not a fit. And if it needs work, here's some areas that we see that you can work on it or whatever the thing is. And that just, it takes time.
And how many people do you have reading those submissions?
As many as possible. No.
Yeah.
This past round, well, you have helped us with
Yes.
some reading of submissions, and
Mhm.
Sam, who helps edit our podcast here, he has helped us. And we've also had a few other friends who have stepped in as readers with us. I'm trying to think like in any one submission period, it's probably the max number of readers is 6 to 7.
Mhm.
And not everyone is reading every manuscript. Like sometimes they're going to read, you know, a handful of them, give us feedback, and then we evaluate how much we read of a manuscript based on the feedback from our acquisition readers.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, so what would you absolutely never publish?
Amish romances.
I will say that I've heard the case for Christian horror, and I just can't buy it. So, no.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I think for me, like really super high fantasy, like I mean, I get
Mhm.
absolutely never is a really strong term, but like if I can't pronounce any of the names and I don't understand any of the world building without 16 maps, I probably am not gonna get really excited about it.
Mhm.
And then of course there's just the like the smutty stuff that's out there.
Yeah.
Like I think that would be
Yeah.
a
Not a
no from all
chance.
of us.
Big no.
Right.
Yes.
By
Exactly. It's
default.
almost like I don't even think anyone would submit that. So,
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Not
yeah.
if they know what we're about.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
Amazing. Okay, so we're going to move now into some marketing and distribution questions.
Hmm.
For the majority of your books, who is your target audience?
So it's a variety of ages. So we've got some picture books for little kids, but there's a lot that falls in that middle grade to YA range. So kids and teens is the majority, although there are a lot of our books that we say teens and up because
Mhm.
adults love them too. And so if it's a well-written book, adults are going to love it too. But the kids and teens is the sweet spot for us.
Yeah. And I regularly am telling people at events, this book is a huge hit at my parents' retirement community.
Hmm.
Because so many of our books are, they fit that classic adage that I think Lewis talked about and Madeline L'Engle talked about, that if it is a well-written book for children,
Hmm.
it's a well-written book for adults.
Hmm.
If
Yeah.
it's not well-written enough that an adult's going to enjoy it, why are we giving it to children?
Mm.
Exactly.
I also think that with some of our younger books, we hit a sweet spot for some of the more reluctant readers,
Mm,
either because of how the book was written strategically to keep the reader engaged from chapter to chapter. I'm thinking Carrie's the King's Messenger.
Hmm.
Each chapter has its own, story, and so it's easy to digest
Hmm.
for a reluctant reader. And same thing with No Clues You Lose. The chapters are intentionally written in a way to keep maybe someone who's not a strong reader engaged in turning the pages. And the same thing for our graphic novel. Well, they're not graphic novels, excuse me. Should I say our poetry with lots of illustrations?
Yeah.
You think about Maury, it's a hefty book. It looks very serious. So someone who may be not a strong reader can carry that around and feel like they have something that's not a baby book, but it has illustrations to engage them and it's written in a fun way. So, and once again, these are for everyone. It's like accessibility in general. They say if you build a house that's accessible, it's not just for the person who needs the modifications, it's accessible for everyone. So I believe the same thing about books. If it's accessible for everyone, it's enjoyable for everyone.
Yeah.
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 Good. Okay, the next question. How far in advance are your books put on places like Goodreads, Amazon, etc., in order to get early attention and pre-orders?
So this is a question that's related to the practice of distribution
Hmm.
and the idea of distribution channels. So any publisher making books is somehow distributing those books into sales channels to get them out into the world. And major publishers, there are kind of middlemen distributors that use just experts in putting the book up for sale in all the places
Hmm.
and, managing that process. We are small.
Hmm.
And up until this point, like we've really been too small to be accepted by like a middleman, a distributor. And so we're in this kind of weird space right now where we've grown our platform and our audience and our number of books enough that we're like talking with distributors again and trying to actively work on finding a partner for distribution. So our answer to this could change
Hmm.
in the next, couple of months even. But for now, we essentially function as an independent seller and we sell direct to the customer or direct to independent booksellers as a wholesaler. So on like Goodreads or Amazon, for example, on Goodreads, we get the books up as early as we have the information. As soon
Hmm.
as we've got a cover and a description and stuff like that, we can get it up. Amazon is a little bit more limited when you're an independent seller on Amazon. Like you can't really load things up ahead of time. And so we don't do pre-orders on Amazon. We just have the book go up for sale on release day.
Hmm.
So for now, the best place to find pre-orders for our books is our website directly. And that also assures your money's going to a small business.
Hmm.
So maybe that's a good thing.
Win-win.
Um, but we do recognize that like that distribution is a piece of the puzzle to figure out, and we're working on that.
Hmm.
So interesting. Okay, librarians order books monthly all at once. Most have one or two distributors, such as Ingram. If one of your titles catch their eye, where's the best place to order from where they can also order titles from other publishers all on the same form?
Yeah, so this is exactly the same situation.
Hmm.
So Ingram is one of those major distributors that works as the middleman. But for now, we've really found like librarians are finding our books on Amazon, librarians are finding our books directly on our website. Some libraries, well, I would say from what I understand about libraries, we did an episode actually last season with my friend librarian Laura, and she talked a little bit about how they acquire books. So, yes, there's this like, okay, once a month we're ordering all our books from the channel that we normally do. But there's often sometimes like kind of an extra fund that's available for librarians to make choices about books that they want to get. And so they're just ordering them on Amazon or they're just ordering them directly from the publisher. And so I would say like check out your local library system, see how to request books, how to do that and put in our book.
Hmm.
If there's any of our books that you're interested in getting into your library systems, like make those requests, stop at the library in person and make those requests. Sometimes that moves the needle, sometimes it doesn't. It depends on the library system.
And
But
I would also say, if you're listening and you're a librarian or a bookstore, you can contact us directly to be able to purchase at wholesale rates. And there's a wholesale page on our website that
yep.
has all of that listed out. So please contact us. We'd love to work with you on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes librarians or people who are purchasing for businesses need like a PO number generated or some kind of thing they don't see directly on our website. So don't hesitate to email us and just say, this is how I need this formatted for my, business expenses, and we'll work with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Amazing. Okay, now we're going to shift into some questions around running a publishing company. What is the most surprising or unexpected thing you've learned along the way since the first Bandersnatch book was released?
I am constantly surprised that people have heard of us before they've met us. It still still astonishes me. Like,
Yeah. I think I would agree. Like that's the fact that we have a presence of some kind that we aren't even aware of.
mhm,
And
amazing.
Amazing. Okay, next question. Do all three of you work on all the books or projects, or are they split up by particular experience and interest? And how do you
yeah.
decide?
Yes, all of the above.
Yeah, exactly. There are some books that go through kind of a system, of each one of us has fingers on it at a different stage.
Mhm,
But then there's others that if it's poetry, Rachel's going to be taking point.
mhm,
And, Annie Beth and I may help her,
mhm,
but she's going to be the point person.
mhm,
I think it's a little less like interest based. It's not so much oh, I'm really into this book and I want to be the person to edit
mhm.
it versus what does the book need and whose skill set is going to serve it
For
best.
example, the Daughter of Arden series did not really need developmental editing.
Right.
So, yeah, so if something doesn't need, something comes to us in really good shape, it's going to get less developmental editing and more sentence polishing.
Mhm,
It just depends on what it needs, like Carrie said.
mhm.
Yeah.
This next question is kind of a piggyback on that, but it says, what are the easiest or most fun parts of the publishing schedule, and what are the most difficult or stressful parts?
Yeah. This probably goes along with our skill sets. So, Annie Beth, what?
For me, the most fun part is the developmental editing, and the most stressful is still my job, but it's dealing with sales tax and 1099s.
Oh, yes. Yes. Well, it's funny that you say that the most fun is developmental editing because that is the most stressful part for me. If it comes to me as like that polishing stage and I hit on something that needs a developmental edit that like maybe got glossed over or that I'm just kind of getting lost in, it's so stressful for me. And like my brain doesn't work that way. But yeah, that the editing, like the polishing part, and also crafting the little line for our copyright page. If you have read any of our books, you may or may not have noticed that we always have some little something fun tucked away on the copyright page. And I get to write those, and I adore that job.
I think for me, like the most fun is actually, I mean, I guess it would be in the marketing category, but it's when we get to interact with readers.
Mm.
When we get to talk to them at an event or, engage with them when they send us an email or any of those, like that's the most fun to me, the geeking out over the finished product aspect of things. I think stressful or difficult, probably keeping up with marketing,
Mm.
like
Hmm.
digital content, and just making sure we've got podcast episodes and making sure we've got our weekly Substack newsletter written and posts on our Instagram and Facebook and like
Hmm.
all of those. Like that's just a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that like you don't realize how much work it is until you're doing it. And you also don't realize how much it moves the needle of people being aware of who you are
Yeah,
until you stop doing it.
that's right.
And then,
Yeah, it's a lot of creative energy that goes into those
yeah.
things that,
Yeah.
And Carrie, you also do an awesome job of writing emails back to people after the submission process is over and
yeah.
we've made our selections. Carrie sits down and writes an email to every single person, letting
Yep.
them know whether they've been accepted or not and for what reason, and gives really valuable like feedback, and it's a very thoughtful process. To me, that would be stressful.
yes.
But Carrie does a great job of it. I assume it's not as stressful to her.
It is not as stressful. I don't know that I'd call it fun because I don't love saying no to people,
Right.
but it is lovely to get thank you notes for your rejection letters.
Right? Yeah.
And we have had that happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think one of my favorite things that I've seen from working with you guys is how incredibly well you all balance each other out. You all have
Mm,
these beautiful overlapping, but also balancing of different giftings and different interests and things that excite you. And so you fill each other's gaps in this way that is just so obviously intentional by the Lord. And I just think it's amazing to watch. And so hearing you talk about those things is really cool.
so fun.
I love it. Okay, fun question. What's the weirdest place someone has pitched you their book idea?
Um, I think I've had one at church before, or like in a
Oh,
church context. But we get a lot of pitches like at the booth and things
oh
like that.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of times somebody comes up to the booth with like something printed out and, wants to make sure they've touched base with you or they want to tell you, can I tell you the synopsis of my book? And you're like, we're not taking submissions right now. And they're like, that's okay. I'll tell you the synopsis anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, so what's the most surprising question you've ever been asked?
This has nothing to do with publishing, but it was a question that was asked very loudly in a public place, directed at me. And Annie Beth was here, so she can corroborate. So we had just come back from Spain. Our third son was a baby, and we were all jet lagged. And we had gone out for lunch after church on a Sunday morning, and we had just been back like 24, 48 hours. And so our son was very upset about the fact that his food had not arrived at the table yet. And we were debating whether or not like which one of us was gonna like get up and walk out of the restaurant with him because he was just crying uncontrollably and nothing we did would soothe him. And an older gentleman got up from the other side of the restaurant and came around and said, "Why do people like you keep having children?" And I like stopped and looked at him like, did I hear what I just heard? And then I said, what? And he said, I don't know why people like you keep having children if you don't know what to do with them. And then he went on some rant about how his children would never, and I don't even know. He was highly offended from the other side of the restaurant that our baby was crying. And probably, I mean, it was a Sunday lunch, and he was dressed like he had just come from church. And I thought if he only knew that he was yelling at a young missionary family who had just gotten back and were just trying to survive and like get some food for their child.
Jet lag is real.
Jet lag is real, and it's
gracious,
hard
yes.
with little ones. And it was amazing. And I remember Annie Beth and my mother-in-law being furious about the fact that like I can't like for days we were talking about this, but it almost didn't faze me because I'd been living in Spain where people feel the need to help you parent your children. So I had grown some thick skin, and so I still looking back like cannot believe the audacity of people, and yet like I don't know, like it just kind of rolled off me at the time. Crazy.
Okay, all three of you work other jobs in addition to running a publishing company. So how do you find time to write?
Mm.
That's a bold assumption you're making.
Writing? What's that?
Yeah, I'm not doing a very good job at that right now, but theoretically, I have a weekend time block on my calendar that's for writing. And a lot of times I do write, but then it's not what I'm supposed to be writing. It's writing other stuff or even maybe reading for Bandersnatch books. It's more of a Bandersnatch books time slot than anything else. And that should incorporate me writing, but a lot of times it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm in a similar boat that I am not doing a great job of it. I would say, like, I'm a fairly slow writer anyway. I'm not great at the, like, sit your bum in a chair and do it on a daily basis type person. But I do think going somewhere or to an event or a conference or something where I get filled up and then making sure I've built time following that, because that's when I tend to start pouring out.
Mm-hmm.
So like this past spring, I remember I went to the Hope Words conference up in West Virginia, and I came home and wrote like 4 scenes, made significant progress on something just like immediately after I got home.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think building those times for me after I get stuff pouring into me to have time to pour out.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, most of my writing has always come in the margins of life, of like when everybody else at my house is sleeping. That's been a lot harder since we've started publishing all these books. And, there are times that I will ignore the laundry in order to get some writing or editing done. Time blocking has been helpful in that I try to carve out, a couple large chunks, like for Annie Beth, it's on the weekends, trying to carve out a time or a day when I'm just going to write during this time. And that has shifted as our schedule has shifted this year. But I recently attended the Focus Retreat in Nashville. Jonathan Rogers and The Habit had a 4-day retreat where it was all about writing. Like they feed you and then you go back to your room or wherever and you just write for 4 hours straight and then they feed you again. And I got my novel finished. Like the next draft that had been languishing for 3 years while we're doing all this publishing finally got finished. And only because, it was 8 hours of writing a day for 3 days straight and then another half day before I left. So it was super intense, but I just thought, this is my one shot. Like I have to make it count. And so I just kept pushing through. And yeah, that feels amazing because for 3 years it had not been done. So
Right.
it feels so good. And I'm like, okay, now we need to get Carrie and Annie Beth writing again.
Okay, we have our last question. Do each of you have a favorite past project?
Mm. You're not supposed to pick your favorite children, right?
That's right. Mm. I think if I had to pick only one, a moment that stands out to me was when I was editing Gobblebat. I had printed it out and had taken it with me on vacation. And so I like to edit with a pen on paper. And I had it and I was working on it and editing and making notes. And my kids kept coming and standing behind me and peeking over my shoulder and saying, "Are you done yet? Is it my turn? Can I read it now?" And it just made me so happy to see them take that much interest in this little book that I was editing. And so, yeah. And then the delight that they continue to have.
I love that.
I was excited to be able to work on Not to Be because one, I'm a huge mystery fan anyway, so that's just a given. Mm-hmm. But it was the first thing that we had in our hands that we could say was for adults, mm-hmm. specifically, not, sure, young adults, might be interested, but it wasn't fantasy. It wasn't young adult fantasy. Mm-hmm. It was realistic fiction. And it was a mystery series. And so that was something very different than what we had been doing up until that point. And it was exciting to have something to offer another segment of the population.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is hard to pick one because there are highlights from so many of them. But I do think the Daughter of Arden trilogy stands up for me. If you don't know, my sister wrote that. So really, we're just promoting nepotism. But the reason, or one of the reasons why, it's a favorite past project is like Lauren started writing that the summer that she got married. And so I was in high school when Lauren started working on this project. And I remember like going over to their house when they were newlyweds. And like, I remember like sitting there and talking about this Maid Malene project that she was working on. And so then I didn't actually read it again until it was complete. Like, so like 25 years later, I got to read these stories and to find just the nuggets of, it's a good story. It's a fairy tale retelling. It's an adventure. It's, good characters, like all of those things. Mm-hmm. There's so many nuggets within it that are so much Lauren and who she is and what her experience has been. And then because I'm her sister, like I've shared some of those experiences and also I recognize some of those experiences. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite examples is there's a character in Promise that is Lady Bradmore. And literally she comes into the story and it's my grandmother. It is my grandmother on the page. And what's so fascinating to me is Lauren captured, I mean, our grandmother's been gone for 30 years. Like,
Wow.
Lauren captured our grandmother, but she also captured her as she experienced
Mm,
her. And so, where Lauren had several years of, I mean, she had 4 years of college, 4.5 years of college that she lived right close to our grandma, visited her every single weekend, like, had a lot of that, like, young adult interaction with a grandparent, which I was in high school when grandma died. So, like, I had a child's
mm,
interaction with
mm,
grandma. And so it's so fascinating to me to read Malene's interaction with this character and be like, oh, that's a different perspective of a woman that I
mm,
know and I knew very well, you
mhm,
know? And it's just, it's so incredibly well done. And there's many, many moments like that throughout the books.
mhm.
And so that's definitely a highlight for
Yeah.
me.
Excellent books.
Yeah.
Yes, agreed.
Mm,
Melissa, do you have a favorite of our past books?
I think Daughter of Arden is also
mm,
my favorite. I feel like that was a book that I knew, or that was a series I knew so much
mm,
about. But then
Mm,
it was when I was in the final months of pregnancy with my youngest, and then even in labor, I was like in the hospital reading them on my Kindle, and
that's
and
right.
I like couldn't stop like reading them. I was just, I mean, I was obsessed. And it was just so funny because the maid Malene, she's such an obnoxious character at first.
Mhm.
Like and it took me so long to get through the first half of the first book because I was like, this girl is me 15 years ago. She's such a brat. She should listen. And so yeah, so I think I loved experiencing all of that, and being able to binge read them and have them back to back was amazing. And you should all buy them together because you will want the other two immediately.
Yes.
Don't buy just one.
Yes, indeed.
The number of times that we get an order for book one and then a week and a half later get an order for books two and three from the same person, like all the
They
time.
do. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's so funny.
there it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it time consuming to make podcasts and or videos, or does it become easier after you get the hang of it? Does it seem to help sales, or is it difficult to reach new listeners?
Definitely gotten easier with time. And
Yeah.
like the podcast, we would not be able to do if we didn't have SDG Morgan as our audio engineer.
Yes. Thank you, Sam.
Sam is fabulous, and it's definitely just a skill set that we don't have. And to grow that skill set, the time that it would take is time that we could be spending on other things.
Mhm.
And so, huge shout out to him.
Yeah.
We definitely like videos and stuff like that. Again, like you grow in the skills. Like we've all had some minimal video editing experience,
Hmm.
and we're currently like each week releasing a video that's Rachel and I giving, how we talk about these books when we're talking to people at an event for them.
Hmm.
And those are going out each week on our social. And that's something that we do really well when we're at an event
Hmm.
talking to someone. But any other time, we're like, how do I talk about this book? What do I say
Right.
about it? And so we just like we had a book festival, and so we just recorded a whole bunch of those,
Yep.
and now we're just feeding them out over time.
Hmm.
But yeah, like we've appreciated in terms of like I don't know that there's a one-to-one correlation of like you release a podcast episode and then you get book sales.
Mm-mm.
Sam and I have looked at those numbers and it doesn't seem to be a one-to-one, but there's definitely that awareness and growth.
Yeah. And I will say, I mean, the point of starting a podcast in the first place was twofold. One, we wanted an opportunity for people to get to know our authors better and hear the
Mhm.
stories behind the books we were publishing. And two, we were having a lot of interesting conversations with interesting people at
Yeah.
conferences and festivals and things like that. And so we thought it would be really cool to start a podcast and just record these interesting conversations so other people get to listen to them too. Because as we've grown in our book publishing and attending other conferences and our reach, we've just gotten to know a lot of really cool people who love
Yeah.
bookish things like we do. And to hear their different areas of expertise or the things that they're geeking out about as a bookish person, it's just really fun to get to record that and share that with other people.
Okay, well, that's all the questions. Thank you guys so much for letting all of us who are fans of what you do pick your brain.
Yeah, thank
Welcome.
you, Melissa, for coming on and asking us all the questions and letting us hang out with you for a little bit. It's always a joy.
Yes.
Of
Yes.
course, I always love to be with you.
So as we wrap up, we have just some, I don't know, announcements. I don't know.
Yeah,
Announcements.
announcements.
I don't know what to call these things. We have things
We have
to
news.
say.
All right. Well, I'll kick it off.
All right.
This is your last chance to pre-order the poetry anthology, I've Got a Bad Case of Poetry, through our Kickstarter. If you hope to get it in time for Christmas, the last day is December 5th. And after that, the book will go up on our site for pre-orders, but those pre-orders from our website will not ship until January on release day when we open it wide to the world. So if you hope to get it in time for Christmas, be sure to back our Kickstarter and we'll get it to you as soon as it gets to us. Also, we have pre-orders for Joe the Fourth and the King's Crown open now. That one releases November 25th. You definitely want this book if you have boys because it's full of boys. And it is a delightful, ridiculous adventure. It's so much fun. I think y'all are gonna love this one. We love it so much, and we can't wait to get it to you.
Absolutely. And then we also have huge news. The audiobook of The Song of the Stone Tiger is now available in most of the places where you find your audiobooks. It's read by the author, Glenn McCarty. He does a fantastic job. You can find it on Audible or Barnes& Noble or Spotify. You can request it through Libby from Overdrive. It's available on Hoopla. So it's in all the places that you get your audiobooks. The Song of the Stone Tiger. Please listen. It's so great.
I literally just picked that up today because I had credits in Audible
Nice.
that I didn't want to lose. And I was like, wait a second. I know what I can do with that.
I started it last week and I'm so excited about it. Or this week, I guess, when it came out.
So good.
Well, our holiday sales will be starting soon. Over the next 4 days following Thanksgiving, we'll have our biggest sale of the year. 40% off of everything on the site except pre-orders. Sorry, no sales on the poetry anthology.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Then, in the first few weeks of December, we'll have some great bundle sales going on too.
Yeah,
Keep a lookout for that.
that's right. So we know that one question a lot of people have been asking is when we are going to open submissions again. Our book publishing schedule is currently full through the end of 2027. So we don't have a submission period on the schedule yet. But as always, the first people who will hear about it when we do are our email list. So you can sign up for our emails on our website and keep in touch with us that way.
Yeah, and speaking of the next couple of years, just a little tease
Yes.
about what is coming. In 2026, we are going to start off after the poetry anthology with our second novel in verse that is a retelling of the story of Shackleton's voyage on the Endurance, but it's from the perspective of his stowaway, Perce Blackborough. It's by Doreen Bennett. We can't wait to share that one with you.
Yeah, we're also looking forward to a book by Bethany Falk aimed at young teens. It's about a 14-year-old girl who spends the summer of 1997 in Japan.
Oh, I love this book, guys. It's such a great coming of age story.
It is, and the fact it's, pre certain technologies is pretty awesome.
It's my girlhood. We've also got some sequels on the horizon this coming year. So the next book in the Pen and Paintbrush Mysteries by Catherine Ladney Mitchell is going to come out early in the summer. And then a sequel to Red Rex by Matthew Mellema is scheduled for late in the summer.
And then finally, The Birding Tree by Krista Weeks will round out our fall. This one's a magical realism novel about a girl who just wants to tell stories about the birds in her yard to her little brother. But she discovers in telling them that they come true in the real world. And then she finds out she is more capable of courage, friendship, and forgiveness than she ever dreamed. And it's such a sweet story. I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, and 2027 will bring the third book in Matthew Mellema's series, so we're excited about that. Also, a historical fiction middle grade set in Poland in the 1880s by Marcia Strakowski, and a delightful fantasy about the royal mice who live in Buckingham Palace by Rachel Watson. And there's even more, too.
Yeah, we are so excited about what's coming in these next 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of things that aren't totally final, so we aren't going to give you all the deets, but 2027 is going to be as full as 26, and it'll be great. So thanks for being with us throughout this entire season of the Vanderpod. We will be back at some point. We'll let you know when we're coming. And meanwhile, may you find bookish treasures in your wanderings off the beaten path.
Thanks for listening in to our conversation today on the Vanderpod. We hope you'll check out our full catalog at bandersnatchbooks.com. The Vanderpod is produced by Rachel S. Donahue, A.B. Donahue, and Carolyn Claire Givens. Audio engineering by SDG Morgan. Artwork by Evelyn Warnamundi. Many thanks to our friend Chris Slayton of Son of Laughter for our theme song, Cricket in a Jar. Find links and more in the show notes.